I'd like to call to order and welcome everyone to a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Can we do roll call?
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Cooper? Here. Mrs. Frenda?
Here.
Mrs. Lees?
Here.
Ms. Nathans? Mr. Rosen?
Here.
Mrs. Tober?
Here.
Mrs. Rye?
Here.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Here. Can I get a motion to move into executive? Jamie, Lise, and Nicole. Okay, thank you.
All right, we're gonna head out. And we'll try and be out in a moment. Oh, and I will text you. No worries.
Attention, there's a blue minivan in the parking lot. Has the door open? That is yours. Try to close the door. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see so many faces. Sorry, we'll start again. Hi, welcome, everyone. It's nice to see so many faces. We just came out of executive session, so we will start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United Tober, Mrs. Rudd,
Here.
and Mrs. Santora.
Here.
Mr. Merkel, do we have any correspondence this evening?
Yes, we have an email from Lawrence and Megan Marino, and the copy is in your packet.
Okay. Dr. Dempsey, the report of the superintendent.
Hi, everybody. So nice to see so many friendly faces. This is the evening in which we typically honor so many people for so many things. And while this is perhaps a more humble group than we've had in years past, certainly it's larger than we've had recently. So we're happy to see all of you all. I'm going to ask Dr. Nigel to start by recognizing the retirees from the high school.
Thank you, Dr. Dempsey. I'd like to call up Ms. Paula Gray first. Congratulations to Ms. Paula Gray on her retirement this year. Ms. Gray has been working in the district since 2001 as a mathematics teacher. Ms. Gray is an outstanding educator whose talent is evident in all she does. Through constant innovation in her teaching, she motivates her students and instills in them a love of learning. This is evidenced not only in the classroom, but in the numbers and diversity of students who come back to visit her, thank her, and share their successes beyond the classroom with her. Ms. Gray was always creative in seeing the big picture of what students need, as well as in the execution of the numerous details to get them there. She readily shared her considerable knowledge, expertise, and resources with the department members, and also listened to her colleagues' suggestions implementing their ideas in her classroom. As student council advisor and the driving force behind the Wall of Honor, she built a lasting district-wide legacy of recognition, respect, and integrity that will long be a living example of the outstanding teacher and individual that she is. I personally have enjoyed working with Paula through the student council over the past 8 years. I cannot say enough about the impact that she has had on BHS. She truly loved this school and her students and made an impact on both. Paula will be missed. Congratulations. Next up, Mr. Ed Pondle. Mr. Pondle has worked in the district since 2015 as a woodshop teacher at BHS. While Mr. Pondle came here towards the end of his career as a woodshop teacher, he has revitalized the program and left it in really good shape for his successor. Mr. Pondle actually had planned to retire earlier in the year, but he held off to the end of the year since we were having trouble finding a replacement, which was greatly appreciated. Mr. Pondle has brought an enthusiasm for woodworking back to BHS. I am amazed at the work that I see students producing under his tutelage. Students are passionate about their projects, and Mr. Pondle echoes that passion in his teaching. He has successfully worked with our STARS program, inside and outside the classroom, helping them get their garden up and running and supporting the students in their various projects. He has also been integral in our theater program over the past few years, not only building the sets, but getting students involved in the process. Mr. Pondle is an all-around good guy who truly cares about his students and the school. His hard work, dedication, and can-do attitude are greatly appreciated and will be missed in his retirement. We wish him only the best in his future endeavors.
Lisa Garofalo, our principal at the middle school, is off at a mother-son dance this evening. So we are happy to welcome Mr. Latsky, who is in her stead. Take it away, Brian.
Ms. Gurney?
So Pam Curran has worked in the district as a paraprofessional since December of 2003. She's supported students in just about every grade level and subject. Ask any teacher in the building about Ms. Curran, and they will say, without a doubt, she is my best student.
I am. I took all the tests.
From taking the tests, to taking notes, to completing nightly homework, and I can speak from experience because I worked with Pam as well directly, she helps students realize what's important and how to be successful throughout the day. It's not surprising to have a middle school student at that age say, why does she keep passing on me? And the answer is simple. It's because she cares and she wants you to do your best and be successful. Ms. Curran, you're a cheerleader for all of our kids, for the teachers as well. You will be missed. Best wishes in your retirement. We'll miss you. Next up is Judy Martin. Judy began to teach in the district in 1982. She's worked at both the middle school and high school. 1982. When Judy returned to the middle school, we became neighbors right across the hall from each other. It was here that I first observed her passion for Latin and how she fully immersed students in the language. From not only just the language, but the culture, the geography, art, history, everything. Mr. Catelli shares that throughout his time in the district, you brought passion and energy to your work with Latin. Your love of language and working with students was always clear, and we're lucky to have had you lead the program for as long as we did. I'm grateful for everything I've learned from you about Latin, teaching classical languages, and the time we've had to work together. In addition to her work in Latin, Judy's also shared her vast knowledge of technology. Her work with stage and lighting crew for drama productions in the middle school and the high school engaged students behind the scenes. And she bailed me out a number of times during assemblies where we had technological difficulties, so I thank her for that as well. Always wanted to share her knowledge of embedding technology with colleagues. She's led numerous professional development workshops over the years. And who will give us our Judy's Tech Tip of the Month as we have our faculty meetings next year. Congratulations on some well-earned relaxation. Enjoy your retirement. You'll be missed.
Come on up. So I have nothing prepared, and I don't know when she started working here. Can you tell us?
1994.
1994. I can tell you that she has served in a number of capacities. Susan and I worked together with Dr. Butler at Bedwell Elementary School. She was a first grade teacher for years, beloved. Before that, she had been in third grade for a short amount of time. I know she also had a part-time job as a related arts teacher. So lots of different varied experiences before she decided to put on her administrative hat. She came to the middle school in between those two things as a reading specialist, and she has now been the language arts supervisor since 2017. Susan is one of those people who every student who has had her, every teacher who has worked with her knows that she puts this work and kids in front of everything. And I think that's the piece that, as her colleagues, we know that she is leaving huge shoes. While we are happy to welcome her replacement and who is on the agenda this evening, there's kind of nobody who, at least in my mind, who's going to do it the way Susan did it. So we wish her nothing but the best, and we know where she lives. Before we do, I just want to recognize the retirees who are not with us this evening. They are all being celebrated at their buildings, at separate parties, by departments. Bedwell wishes nothing but the best to Mrs. Leavenworth, Mrs. Parsiak, Ms. Matero, Mrs. Kostelak, and Sue Crowley. Olcott wishes nothing but the best to Ellen Brown. And we have Robin Nickel at the high school leaving us on August 1st, and we certainly wish her nothing but the best as well. We're going to switch hats and talk about our student representatives. who have been so helpful this year. I would say that whether in person or virtual, students are the highlight of our kind of meeting. We love kicking off with the stories of what's going on in buildings. I'm going to welcome Mr. Latsky back so that he can recognize the students who are here this evening. If you can stand up and approach Mr. Latsky. Here's the list I have, but if I don't read your name and you're here, please go up. Justin Lee, I believe you're here. Leah, are you here? Leah Jallis? There she is. Marley Beers, I see you. And Ella Demotowski, I see you. Are there any other middle schoolers who are here? Okay, so we have the gift bags for the mystery. Thank you all for your willingness to come to these meetings, whether that you're coming from your couch or you're coming in person. We do appreciate all of your efforts. They make a big difference. Dr. Nigel, you have a student representative who I know has to report out this evening, but who we also have a gift for.
Lucy Taylor, come on up. Doing your report now?
Sure. Hi, Lucy. Hi. We figured we'd kill two birds with one stone, so to speak.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Taylor, and I'm this year's Board of Education student representative. As always, I hope you are all doing well. We have finally made it to the final week of the school year. It is crazy to think about the year that all of us have gone through, but we made it through with our heads held high. COVID was a challenge none of us would ever think we would have to undertake, but we did, and came out stronger than ever. Thank you to teachers for the consistent support throughout the school year and administration for maintaining a positive, safe school environment. As we are in the last few weeks of this strange school year, I wanted to take some time to wrap up the last events students have been or will be partaking in. The senior award ceremony is tomorrow night, where selected seniors will be awarded scholarships and awards. Congratulations to all seniors receiving an award tomorrow night. And of course, graduation is next Thursday. All seniors are extremely excited and looking forward to the day, especially considering many COVID restrictions in relation to graduation have been lifted and our families are all welcome to be there. AP testing is finally coming to an end. This is the final week of AP testing. Congratulations to all students who have finished and are still finishing their AP tests. It was a hard year in these rigorous courses, so hopefully all work will have paid off for these tests. The spring sports season has also come to an end, and many of our teams made it extremely far. Though for some teams, the ending wasn't what many had hoped for. The drive athletes showed throughout the season shows how resilient Bernard's students are against all circumstances. On May 26th, the one night only show lit up the path with some impressive singing and dancing. Congratulations to all students who got to participate in the one night only show, and I hope in the future our feeder program can continue to impress. Senior Prom was last week, and it was wonderful. It felt normal with an amazing outside venue, games, music, dancing, and some great food. Thank you to staff and students that helped make that happen. It was a perfect evening that made us all feel extremely special. Finally, I would like to thank the board. This year has been tough, but we got through it strong. And I know that was not an easy task for any of you. I'm excited to see what's in store for next year, as after this year, I know nothing can beat Bernard's High School. Thank you so much for listening and giving me this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the students for the past 10 months. It has truly been an honor. That is all I have for today. I hope you all have a great evening and an even better summer. Thank you.
Mr. Patel, we'll see you downstairs. Michael Patel, it's you. VFW Patriots pen winners and Voice of Democracy winners here with us this evening. Mr. Patelli, as the supervisor of social studies, is going to recognize those winners for us.
Thank you, everybody. First off, thank you to our teachers and staff who've helped encourage this competition for the past several years, as well as the board for taking time to recognize our winners every year, and to our families for taking time to be here as we give out the awards. It's incredibly meaningful to everyone. Every year, our high schoolers take part in the Voice of Democracy speech contest, and our middle schoolers take part in the Patriots Pen essay writing contest, both of which are coordinated by the VFW. Student submissions are then judged by our local events. Our teachers will go into a little bit more detail on the programs at each school, but the topic this year was, is this the country our founders envisioned? Through collaboration with our VFW, the competition has been growing every year, and I'm happy to say that we were able to continue during a school year where so many other things had to shift. We had to help our VFW navigate submissions to Google Docs, and there were some small technical hurdles with getting them used to that, but everything was able to go off without an issue. I've had the opportunity to work closely with the VFW, our local post, to grow the contest over the past few years. And every time I get to speak at this point, I like to recognize that a few years ago, our district was only recognizing 1 or 2 winners for this competition. But now, because of the support of our local VFW, we recognize a winner at every grade level, 6 through 12, with a cash prize, which is incredibly generous of our local post. I really think it's a model of what a community partnership can be. In other years, our vets have come to visit the schools, give out the awards to students. This year, they recorded a congratulations video, which was shared in class, and we gave the awards out to students in their classes. It's something that we hope next year we get back to normal, but again, we're so happy we're able to continue this tradition as it was with our vets. And another form of giving back that I want to recognize as well from our VFW, last year they created a scholarship for our graduating seniors. So I want to thank them for constantly finding new ways to support our school. And at this point, they always make me stop and stress that all of the funding for these awards comes from their local poppy sale. So when you see them outside ShopRite, they mentioned they were at the Six Pantry this year. When you see them outside selling poppies, this is where the funds go. They come back into the community and back into the school to support us. So at this point, I traditionally turn everything over to our teachers, but unfortunately Ms. Callahan could not be here with us tonight. So I'm going to read some comments from her about our BHS winners. For all of our students that are here tonight, I know that I will not be able to bring the same verve that she brings when she's recognizing her students' achievements, so I apologize in advance for that. So, for our BHS winners, this was the 6th consecutive year the public speaking course used the contest as a formal speech assignment. We are proud to say 10 students entered the contest and 4 emerged as winners. Interestingly, all 4 winners shared the same opinion and answered the question with a resounding yes. Our country is what the founders envisioned. Each student presented their unique perspectives through the use of historical references, contemporary and personal examples. They developed American themes, democracy, liberty, unity, and perseverance. The students delivered their speeches with passion and sincerity. They captivated their peer audiences and our local veterans. Every year we're moved by our students' enthusiasm to express their pride in our country and through this contest. They demonstrate the power of rhetoric and civic engagement, both of which would make our founding fathers very pleased. It's my honor to introduce the recipients for this year. You can all stand and get a round of applause. From 12th grade, Michaela Gerges. 11th grade, Shane Rich. 10th grade, Catherine Lee. 9th grade, Spencer Saul. At this point, I'm going to turn everything over to Ms. McMillan from BMS to talk about our BMS winners.
Thank you, Mr. Catali and Board of Ed for hosting tonight the winners of both the Patriots Pen and Voice of Democracy. And I know that you're always so wonderful, understanding that some of them still have homework with one day of school officially there. But I do think we're going to try to do pictures after I'm done so that parents can take those as well. So I hope you will allow us that. 9 days after Memorial Day and 3 after D-Day is the perfect time to acknowledge this school year's winners of the Patriots Pen. So I know for some people, you know, this contest is run, the due date is October 31st, 2020, but we all know that this year has been like none of them. And so there are colleges across the nation that had last year's graduations in the past month. So June, now, coming up with these 2 events where we remember those courageous men and women who fought and died for us on Memorial Day, May 31st, a Monday. And then D-Day, which some of my students, and one of whom is here, we looked at the significance and learned more. I'm so fortunate to be a teacher in this district, and I'm so fortunate that the DFW Post 7858 continues to spur our students to find their voice. It wasn't stopped during Hurricane Sandy in 2012. They accepted essays and they awarded prizes. It wasn't stopped during COVID-19. So they continue, regardless of their ages, and when they came to school, they amazed us not only by sharing primary source history, but also by their willingness to educate us about more than just curriculum. At the middle school, the 8th grade really had the most, you know, if you add 6th and 7th grade together, the most entries. And I feel that even if you just hear the names, first name and initial is important to recognize those who entered. As my mother used to say, Patricia, you can't win it if you're not in it. And so I say that to the students. And I'm an English teacher because my mother forced me to enter a DAR writing contest. Probably I'd be a math teacher, but it was winning this and also writing it and finding a voice. So I'm hoping that this year's winners as well find that it's a turning point of sorts for them, because that happened for me in middle school. So Mr. Porter at grade 8, he had submissions from Meredith M., Justin L., who's here as well, Cyrus, there's only one Cyrus, but Cyrus M., Max A., Alex B., Raul S., Wiley D., our winner, Marcella, over there, if you can just wave for us. Killian, Peter M., Lila B., Anthony C., and Ella D. So Mr. Porter, kudos to you, and kudos to Marcello because of all the entries, you know, you won. So obviously, that must have been one amazing essay. I'm going to skip to grade 6. So Miss Wells worked with several students, including Sophia S., Joe I., Jocelyn G., Aiden A., and Kristen Lee, who won. And all I heard were oohs and ahs, not only from Miss Wells, but also from her literacy teacher, Kristen's literacy teacher, Miss Russell. So Kristen, if you can wave and stand, or we'll just wave. So just like Mr. Catelli told you, it's all about collaboration. So I get the word out, and I'm going to do it today before I introduce Charlotte and the 7th graders. The Patriots Pen is already online. You can already do it. I think all the middle school students, I think all the high school students for Voice of Democracy, everyone needs a break. In the UK, I'm not saying their educational system is any better than ours. I think the US is #1, but they believe in a 2-week holiday. So I think everyone needs a break. But There's some great topics coming up, and after I mention Miss Charlotte, I'll just kind of put in a word about that. In grade 8, I apologize. So Ms. Torres also had students who didn't want to, quote, double dip and get credit for Mr. Porter and Ms. Torres. And so those were Shannon T, Stella G, Karina N, and Bridget W. So I apologize to the 8th graders who might be hearing this. I apologize. And as all my students know, Ms. McMillan makes lots of mistakes. It's part of life, and I own it. For my students, my heart goes out because this year we weren't able to be in school 5 days a week. We weren't able to cajole, wheedle, goad, spur, do whatever to get them to write. And most of my students work with me on Saturday via email or telephone because I said, Ms. McMillan didn't get to read your essay till Friday night, and it's spectacular. And I really wish that you fill out the PDF, the entry form. And so the students who said yes, they didn't say, Monday through Friday, I've got to listen to you, but I'm not receiving your call or I'm not talking to you. So those are the kinds of students we have. They're the students who, it doesn't matter if it's a weekend. It doesn't matter. They know that if you are kind of sharing that olive branch to them, you want them to rise up. More often than not, they will wow you. And my students, Ben E., Anna B., Nathan L., who won prior year, Liam P., and Jeremiah W. entered, but our winner was Charlotte Perez. So I apologize to anyone in attendance because I really should cut it short, but I want you to know that one of the best parts of being a teacher is when you read a student's writing, whether it's a college essay, whether it's a letter for employment, and you get those chills, and you know that that student is writing with authenticity. So when Charlotte's essay popped up on my screen, I knew we had a winner. But I'm not a veteran of a foreign war. I'm not a veteran. I am the niece of veterans, the granddaughter of veterans, but I'm not a veteran. So all I could say was just fill out the form. Yesterday, some people didn't know it was crazy weather, but there was an opportunity to vote. This young lady included that as part of her essay along with others because this year the Patriots pen is, what is patriotism to me? And other students who wrote in grades 6, 7th, and 8th said, wearing masks, doing what I can to protect my loved ones is patriotism to me. And so as Mr. Catelli told you via Ms. Callahan, it is these young people who remind all of us who have become adults that we need to be lifelong learners. They teach us every single moment of every day because I'm not talking to parents like they don't know that your children wow you. And sometimes we just need to bask in that, let it sink in. What this district has been able to do, I hear from Teachers College, your district has been up and running, and it is because of people like you from the board who volunteer, parents who come to represent their families and watch their children win or listen to them being acknowledged, applauded, and our community members who come to every one of these meetings because that is the civic duty where you add that wonderful can-do spirit. I'm here to add my voice. So, what is patriotism to me? It's here, in this room. I wish I could say, I don't want tomorrow to come because then Susan Fisher wouldn't leave and all the retirees wouldn't leave and everyone would be here. But we know that time keeps on ticking into the future. So, let me leave you with Patriots Pen theme for next year. So Marcello, who won, is now ineligible for the middle school. He's a rising 9th grader. But Miss Lee and Miss Perez may enter. How can I be a good American? So, That has a deadline of Halloween if you celebrate, October 31st if you don't. Voice of Democracy. America, subtitle, where do we go from here? So I'm seeing 4 of our student council from 8th grade. America, where do we go from here? So, leaving you with, I'd love them to have a photo opportunity. Thank you for recognizing them. Thank you to all of you who've had offspring come through our district, maybe seniors now and moving on to better, but there isn't anything more wonderful from a teacher to have taught a student in 5th and 7th grade and then have her name listed as a 12th grade winner. So Michaela Kirsch's, she was a writer in grade 5. No great surprise that she won it, but you gotta be in it to win. So, I'm leaving. We'll bring up our young people. So I'm going to ask first that the middle school students, 8 closest here, 7th and 6th, if you can just come maybe here so we can have a picture. So that Mr. Tech, Mr. Sayez can have you. Okay, so Marcel, I'm going to have you here. We're going to go in our order of our grade. And so if you guys can just step into one of these, okay, I think that's I have some. Okay, so we're a little closer, and you tell me if you can get them all in. Okay, so these are our middle school winners for Patriots 7.
Thank you for being such good sports.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Dempsey, for giving them credit. There you go. For putting up with my shit. Okay, and everyone but Michaela, you need to be entering next year, whether it is in the course or not.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for coming. Congratulations. Thank you to our retirees, to our administrators, to our parents who were willing to drive. Thank you.
As all of our retirees and the students are leaving, I want to thank you all. And I know most of them are gone, but I want to say it anyway. We certainly want to congratulate our retirees and our Patriot Pen and Voice of Democracy winners. I also just want to acknowledge all the students that have participated in our meeting all year, because they really bring our school district to life for the board, and it's very meaningful to hear directly from them. So I know they're gone, but I did just want to acknowledge that, and we certainly appreciate and applaud all their eloquence and hard work to come here and speak in front of, well, now a room full of people, which we're all happy to say, so thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. That concludes the report of the superintendent.
Okay. We will move on to public comments for actionable agenda items. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any actionable agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public comments will be limited to 30 minutes. Thank you for your input. It does not seem like there are is any public comment at this time. Can I get a motion to close public comment?
I see somebody in the back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then you have to wait till the end.
Okay,
Yes.
no problem.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We'll have another session at the end. So can I get a motion to just close the actionable agenda item public comment? Okay, thank you, Nicole. All in favor? Aye. Do I- You got it? Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to approve minutes. Okay, Sarah, can we get a second? Nicole? Roll call?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Tolbert? Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Bob, can you report on finance, please?
Yes, the Finance Committee met last Wednesday for about an hour. Not everybody was in attendance. No, I'm sorry, you weren't. You weren't, you had a substitute. Anyway, so we had five board members there, and Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, and Mrs. DeMarco. We talked about four topics, and the first one we'll see on the agenda tonight, we're keeping these lunch places provided by Maggio's Food Service flat for the coming year, so there's no change. If you remember last year, we increased the lunches by 30 cents, and the federal government is paying for all the lunches throughout all of this school year, and they will pay for all the lunches for next year too. So everybody should take free lunch. Maggio's will probably provide other items the students can purchase too, so that's an agenda item on this evening. Mr. Schwartz, our technology manager, reported on his survey of our technology infrastructure that he's been working on for the last 2 months since he became an employee. And he found 3 critical items that we need to improve as quickly as we can. One are all the switches that control all the fiber optics between all the buildings and internal of the building. There's switches that control those, and they're at the end of their life and they're hard to maintain. So there's 26 of those, and the cost estimate is about $125,000. So we don't have a contract yet, but so business office and technology department will try to get that underway this summer. We need to do that quickly. We've got storage servers that are at the end of their life, and so those need to be replaced soon. So we're going to do that in tandem with that work, and that's going to cost about $107,000, about $70,000. And the third item is all the telephones. The telephone system throughout the district is on copper, and everybody now is switching to voice over internet, and all the telephone systems that we have, you can't buy parts for them anymore. Nobody's supporting copper phone systems anymore, so we need to replace those, and that's a huge undertaking to do that in the building. But you can use voice over internet protocol. You can't do that until you get all the switches and everything else fixed too. So the plan is to do the first two things over this summer, and then next summer to do the telephones. It's possible we could do those during the year, but that's very disruptive. If the vendor told us it was possible and they could do it over, a long period of time, like when telephones out of service, we could do that. So, and that would, if we do phone systems, we could even buy them outright, we could go on a lease. So, we're going to work on that, to get prices and move forward with telephones. Another item we talked about was all the Chromebooks that we gave out to all the students who took them home. This year we let all the students take the Chromebooks home without charging them a fee. A lot of school systems who get Chromebooks one-on-one charge $25 to $35 for the fee to take care of insurance. We didn't do that. We're not sure what was going to happen, how much damage that there may be. So once all those Chromebooks come back, we'll analyze all the damage and decide whether we should charge a fee or when a Chromebook breaks, you pay as you go, or we can charge a fee and keep the money ourselves, not give it to the insurance company and use it as a fund to repair the books as they need to be fixed. It's also like a textbook. If you lose a textbook, you have to pay for it. So the Chromebooks at the same way. So the business office and the technology office will look at all the damage that we see when these Chromebooks come back, and they'll make an assessment and a recommendation to the board probably in the fall when they are distributed back out again. Another item we talked about was to buy software and hardware to scan all the documents in the business office ourselves instead of getting a third party to come in once a year and to take care of all the documents, scan them, and upload them to the computers. This way, all the purchase orders, all the checks, all the invoices, the business office can all be put in as they go. And then if somebody needs to see something, you can just go on the computer and find it. The same would hold true for other departments throughout the school system. So Mrs. DeMarco is proposing that we spend about $10,000 for the first year to get the software and the hardware, and then it would be a $1,200 annual fee for the software going forward. So she'll come back with a proposal on the agenda for that. And the last item we talked about was in-person committee meetings versus virtual committee meetings. And there's a lot of opinions on that. We've all talked about that. So as we go through this, you can think about it over the summer, and we'll talk about it more in August. But there's benefits of doing both. We'll probably do a hybrid of it. Sometimes we need a spur of the moment meeting, doing it. The Zoom is better than trying to get everybody into a room. But other times when you have something very difficult, doing it in person makes sense. So that's what we talked about at the meeting, and I'd like to move action items 1 through 13 on the agenda and 14 through 20 on the agenda. Do I have a second? Okay. Any questions about what we talked about? Okay. Do we have a roll call?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, Pat, facilities and operations.
F&O met on the 2nd of June, last week. All committee members were in attendance. Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, and Ms. DeMarco were there, as well as Mike Hoppy and Jeremy Schwartz. The first thing we talked about was there is a student who is interested in representing VHS in fall interscholastic gymnastics competition. This was the second time we've discussed this, so I'm sure everybody's pretty much aware of what's going on. As our partner, Somerville High School, no longer has a gymnastics team, the student cannot participate with them as part of our combine. So we were presented with a problem. The student will need a volunteer staff member to attend meets so as to adhere to our policies and guidelines. So we asked that Mr. Hoppy look for an unpaid volunteer staff member to supervise this student for the fall 2021 season. We also met with Mr. Schwartz, and I'm not going to repeat a lot of what Bob said because there was a lot of overlap. And you can read in the report, I don't think there's much in there except that we haven't talked about. There are issues with Wi-Fi and connectivity, and so an assessment of all 3 schools as well as the Alcott building is going to be conducted on June 20th after school's out. And also there is some obsolete IT equipment, and the board's in the process of disposing of this equipment, and due to the pandemic, the district was not able to host its normal E-Day in the fall, and Mr. Schwartz is looking into alternative places to dispose of this outdated IT equipment. We too discussed committee meetings as either in person, virtual, or a mixture of both, and I'm sure that that discussion is going to be ongoing. Dr. Dempsey talked to us about the safe reopening document, and I believe that's going to be discussed in a little bit more detail after I finish here. The document has to be submitted to, I believe, the county superintendent. Am I correct about that?
It is actually filed through the New Jersey Home Room through EWIC.
Thank you, Dr. Dempsey. And it's got to be submitted by June 24th. So I know that that's pretty much ready to go. And as I said, we will hear a little bit more about that after I finish. The last thing that was discussed was Dr. Dempsey shared her merit goals for 2021 and 2022 with the committee, and I'm sure you've all perused that material. So, without any further ado, does the board have any questions or comments on anything?
A question about the combination athletic events. Do you have like a pre-existing relationship with the school to, okay, than other schools in the community or in this about we have gymnastics? Sorry.
No, we had discussed that. It's because we're currently attached to Somerville that we can't go out and forge a relationship with another, with another school.
Yeah, makes sense.
Pat, is it okay if I say a little bit of something about the safe return plan?
Sure.
I just want the board and the community to understand this is a requirement for us to file and receive federal monies under the American Rescue Plan Act. Substantively, I would tell you that as much as it sounds like there would be details around what our safe return will look like, that would be a big fib because it does not. We recognize that to predict and project what school will look like in the fall is pretty different at the present time. So I've worked with my county colleagues to recognize what our responses will pretty much look like. We're asked to comment upon things like wearing of masks, physical distancing, hand washing and respiratory etiquette, cleaning and maintaining healthy facilities, contact tracing, diagnostic and screening testing, vaccinations for educators, staff, and students, and appropriate accommodations for students with disabilities. It's important for us to remember that this is a federal requirement, and so some states are not as far along in their reopening as we are. So I think to just have everybody understand this is something that we have to file. Each answer is limited to 1,000 characters. So you are not talking about a detailed plan the way our reopening plan looked last summer. It will be posted on the website, and if there are important comments that anybody wants to share, they will have the capacity to do so. We also have to update it every 6 months. So I think there is a recognition that it is a very high-level exercise for the state of New Jersey in basically saying we will continue to do the things that we've been doing, and certainly in our school district, having been open all year long, I think the steps that we have taken speak for themselves in many ways.
Thank you, Dr. Dempsey. If there are no more comments, I'd like, oh, sorry.
That's okay. So we need to have a public comment section for the safe return plan. So I would like to open up public comment at this point only for comments on the safe return plan. Okay, seeing as there are none, can I have a motion to close public comment on the safe return plan? Okay, Sam and Nicole? Okay, thank you. All right, thanks.
Now, I'll do this right. I'd like to move action items number 1 through 5. Do I have a second? Kathy.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Brenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen? Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santora?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Nicole, curriculum, please.
The curriculum committee met on Tuesday, June 3rd for 2 hours, and all committee members and Ms. Nathans were in attendance. Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, Ms. Garofalo, Dr. Eckerton, and Mr. Latsky also joined us. We started the meeting by discussing whether committee would meet virtually or in person next year. Both types of meetings have their advantages and disadvantages, and committee members were split over their preferences. As a compromise, we agreed to hold some meetings virtually and others in person, working in conjunction with Community Relations Committee, which meets right before curriculum. And we'll continue to discuss this issue in the upcoming months. Next, Dr. Edgerton and Ms. Garofalo and Mr. Latsky joined us to discuss proposed enhancements to the BMS math curriculum for 5th and 6th graders. Results of mid-year iReady assessments indicated that current 5th and 6th graders may benefit from additional math-related instruction time given the reduction in learning time resulting from the pandemic. For 5th graders, BMS is planning to offer 6 periods of math per week instead of 5, possibly by using 1 period of the wellness class for math instruction each week, increasing the duration of math instruction by about 40 minutes per week. For 6th graders, BMS is exploring other options, including the creation of a program similar to the 7th grade statistics course. Committee members fully supported efforts to increase math instructional time in these grades. Dr. Eckerton then presented an update on the 2-year accelerated pathway in math at BMS. All students who entered this pathway have done well in the program, suggesting that the criteria for entering this pathway were appropriate. In the future, the administration is considering using iReady benchmarks to help select candidates for this pathway. Dr. Edgerton also proposed replacements for the very outdated textbooks currently used in Algebra 1, Pre-Calculus, and Honors Calculus. Teachers who are currently teaching or had recently taught these subjects provided input. Nearly all teachers who reviewed the samples selected the same textbooks authored by Larson. Access to free live tutorial services and on-demand homework help is included with these texts. Dr. Dempsey then presented electives with fewer than 10 requests at the high school, along with the administration's plans for these courses. The committee supported the administration's plans. Next, Dr. Dempsey updated the committee on the world language preferences of rising sixth graders. Approximately 2/3 selected Spanish, 1/3 selected French. Few families expressed an interest in Latin. Dr. Dempsey then presented brief curricular descriptions for AP classes after the AP exams end in May and June. For many AP classes, the tests end only a few days before the end of the year due to this year's extended window for AP testing. Students in other AP classes continue to work on projects related to the curriculum or are learning additional related content. Finally, Dr. Dempsey described the administration's plans for incorporating new learning standards into the curriculum. In June 2020, New Jersey adopted new student learning standards and initially required them to be implemented by September 2021, a deadline that has been extended until September 2022. However, the district will start curricular writing this summer as indicated in the agenda. So I'd like to move items 1 and 2 on the agenda and number 3 on the agenda. Do I have a second? Thanks. Any discussion? Questions?
How many of the courses, the electives, how many were there that were given in 10 class?
I don't have the number, Jamie, I can share the document with
I was
you
just
separately.
I have a document here.
I was just curious, I don't know. Oh, really? Wow.
Or maybe more than that.
There were some, such as madrigals or jazz band, where the number is somewhat deceiving because they haven't had their auditions yet. There are some that are co-seated, like the journalism classes,
Right.
where you're taking a number of smaller sections and running them simultaneously. So I would have to go through the documents to how long. Of the remaining, some we're running and some we're not.
And Jean, I did, in my report, there's a link to it, so you can, if you have a chance, you can take a look at that. Oh, sorry. It's linked in the report, the document that she shared.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we can.
I just had a question, Nicole, regarding the curriculum for the AP courses. Was that a conversation that was, I know it was brought up, and that's in the return to school full day. Was that determination made for what they were going to be doing this year, or was that reported back to the curriculum? It was always that they were working on ongoing projects.
It was more, Sam, what they had typically done. You
Okay.
heard Lucy speak to the fact that we have kids who are still taking AP
Yes.
tests now.
Yes.
So that whole window is very different this year than it had been historically.
Okay, thank you.
I also just wanted to comment that I was very impressed with the time and effort put into afford students further math instruction. It looks like it was pretty complicated for the administrators to figure that out, and I think it's wonderful that we're trying to get ahead of giving these kids some extra instruction where they probably need it.
I agree, the administrators have done a lot on this, so we appreciate their efforts.
I just asked a question about the WAC program. So I know you commented that there were 2 rising sixth graders that had an interest, and there were, I think, there were only a handful of the
Oh, I'm sorry, I think maybe I said few, but go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, I'm just curious where we stand now with the Latin program. I can't recall, honestly, are we offering other options to those students that had an interest?
So from a timeline perspective, we need to start building schedules. We have a staff member who is on the agenda this evening to take the position that Judy Martin is vacating. She has historically worked for us part-time in Latin. Once her part part-time position is vacated, we're going to try to fill that part-time position. And then Mr. Patelli is going to have to look at what he has seen in terms of interest in those rising sixth graders to determine whether that would be offered to that grade level in addition to the rising seventh and eighth, or whether the part-time person would only serve the seventh and eighth graders. Does that make sense?
So the seventh and eighth graders that are currently in line, we definitely get to continue with line.
As soon as we find that part-time person.
Right.
And you can understand why after this year, right?
Right,
Right, yes.
And then we're not sure where we stand with the sixth graders.
My understanding is as of that meeting, the interest in those sixth graders was very limited. Should that change? Should Michael suddenly say, you know, I've spoken to 15 more people and we have a class, we could run. Thank you.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Brenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen? Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Kathy,
No, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry, Kathy, personnel, please.
thanks, Heather. The Personnel Committee met on June 3rd at 4 p.m. for 40 minutes. Board members in attendance included Mrs. Frenta, Mr. Rosen, Mrs. Santoro, and myself. We were also joined by Dr. Dempsey. Our meeting topics surrounded personnel planning for the 2021-2022 school year. I would like to recognize the fact that there are a number of new appointments on the agenda tonight. We are indeed very excited about them all. One of particular interest is the District K-12 Supervisor of English Language Arts, Visual Performing Arts, and Media Specialist being vacated by Susan Fisher. The board is pleased to be recommending Ms. Lindsay Barna, who is currently the Literacy Content Specialist in the Piscataway School District. Additionally, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that under Personnel Matters, you will see that we are voting to approve Dr. Dempsey's 2021-2022 merit goals. We all know that this school year was like no other and required so much additional time and attention to priorities that were probably unfathomable in previous years. However, despite all her efforts in a wide variety of COVID-related matters, on top of her working tirelessly to keep our schools open for our students, Dr. Dempsey still was able to achieve the merit goals this year and keep our district not only on track, but moving forward. Thank you, Dr. Dempsey, for all that you do for our students on ethnic testing.
Kathy?
I believe at this time, Ginny, we have some revisions to the agenda.
Yes, we have revisions number 16, which is on page 17, item CCC for soccer women's assistant. That should be JV, not freshman, so that will be changed. And number 16, item HHH for Jonathan Chern for fencing. That should be head coach, and the amount of $7,200. And we will be removing items KKK and items B, which is for open gym and assistant AD, which they will be appointed in their right positions on the addendum.
So with that, I'd like to move items 1 through 23 on the agenda, as well as items 2, 4, 5, 16, 20, and 24 through 27 with the revisions as noted by Judy DeMarco. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Just wanted to comment, it looks like there's a lot of curriculum writing this summer.
We're trying to get through things that are more straightforward this summer. We don't want to leave it all until next summer, but we also recognize that our teachers are the ones who engage in that work, and their capacity for heavy lifting in the realm of curriculum writing this summer may be somewhat different than it might normally.
I know, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with all the people on there. So thank you for everybody who's willing to do that work.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Mrs. DeMarco, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Brenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen? Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, on to policy, which Larry, you're going to report out on this evening for us.
Yes. The policy committee met on Thursday, June 3rd for about 5 minutes. Attendance for Dr. Santoro, Cat 5, Dean, and Dr. Dempsey and Butler. We also discussed the issue of how we're going to meet going forward and came to very similar conclusions as all the other previous discussants. We'll report back on that. We also engaged in a long.
I'm sorry, can you pull the microphone?
Turn because I think in front of the speaker,
Okay.
it's feeding back.
Oh,
We also engaged in a long discussion of whether to reinstate random drug testing. The schools have a policy, but it was suspended during last year on account of all the pandemic disruptions. We discussed the history and some of the challenges that have existed with enforcement and with loopholes that are built into the policy and the cost of the policy. There's evidence on how it works and how it's perhaps failed to do what it was hoped for, but in as much as it was suspended over the course of the last year, it's probably not the most ideal time to make a significant change to that while we figure out how to bring it back, or how things happen as school comes back. We also discussed a couple of regulations, Regulation 7511 relating to the athletic field, and Key 1649 related to the abolishment of the Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And then we also discussed Key 5460.02, the 3-tier pilot program, which allows students to continue to play high school sports despite having graduated. To date, one VHS student has informed us of a plan to use this program in the coming year. And with that, I will make a motion to move items 1 and 2 on the agenda relating to first and second readings of different policies. Any questions or comments? Let's move to a roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Mrs. Brenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Sam, community relations, please.
Okay, well, not to sound redundant, but we too discuss next year's committee meetings and have the format for those. And I just wanted to highlight, and excuse me if it was highlighted in any of the previous reports, but our group discussed, the various ways to do this, hybrid, in person, purely virtual, and we just kind of went through what the benefits would be. Obviously, meeting virtually allows for much greater flexibility and consistency in attendance for all board members and administrators, which is critical for meetings to be as efficient, effective, and productive as possible. All members agree that January will most certainly be a critical month for us to meet in person following elections, and at other critical times where in-person meetings would really be most effective. The frequency of in-person meetings would evolve as necessity dictates based on committee issues and discussions that arise. And again, as discussed, Dr. Dempsey did present to us her miracles for the 2021-2022 school year, and the specific work as it related to the Community Relations Committee, undertaking the strategic plan process in conjunction with our NJSBA rep, and revitalizing the community service program as originally outlined for last year and as a carryover due to COVID and all of the other things that kind of circumvented that work. So thank you very much to Dr. Dempsey. And again, we were also presented with the work that was being done on the mandated safe reopening plan, and Dr. Dempsey obviously explained that in the best detail as it's quite a general piece that they're working on. And then the group gave an update on the BOE webpage work that we've been undertaking. And last month, after defining the website drop-down menu and page layout, the group specifically worked on the About page layout and content this month. And we will be handing over this piece of work to Dr. Dempsey and the IT department once it is refined and finished later this month. And then over the summer, we'll be working on the BOE members and committees page in upcoming weeks and the months ahead. In the public questions and concerns, discussion began with conversations regarding graduation and moving up ceremonies. And there was still some unknowns at that point in time. And it is my understanding that at this point it's been communicated to all of the schools that what their plans are and that those attendance restrictions have been lifted and that all family is welcome to attend. So that was exciting news, and I'm sure very welcome to all those that are moving out and moving on. We revisited and agreed that discussion of the formal feedback loop for public comments and concerns should be on all committee agendas for August in order to determine any necessary changes for procedure for committees and board meetings in the new school year. Our next meeting will be on August 17th, and it will be virtual. And that is all I have. Nothing to move this evening. Thank you.
Any comments on community relations before we move into supplementary matters?
Yes, I just want to commend all the work that the committee has done and that the district has done in terms of community service. I don't think that the public in general realizes how, non-parental public in general realizes how the community service requirement for our schools has revitalized a lot of programs that were missing volunteers. And I can say personally, the work that my son did as he was going through helped him find pretty much a career. So I think that community service is one of the better things about our district, and I really applaud our commitment to it.
Before I open it up to supplementary matters, I do want to mention to the public that we are looking to fill one vacancy on our board from Bernardsville. We have provided notice for that in the paper and on our website, and we will be taking letters of interest or resumes until Friday. Jenny, what time? 4 o'clock on this coming Friday. So if anybody is interested, please email, yes, Ms. DeMarco, and all the information is on the Board of Ed page on our website. Okay, supplementary matters.
Heather, I don't know if you wanted to speak to the public relations.
Oh, no,
Okay.
absolutely.
On June 3rd, Heather and I attended a public relations, I guess it was a forum, but it was a training as well. It was of tremendous value. It focused on different communication strategies and use of social media by districts. It was profoundly informative, and I believe you may be going to reach out to Gwen to see if we could, at the very least, have access to it. It's available for 30 days, but I don't know if it's just available to attendees. It would at the very least be very helpful for the members of community relations. It would be fabulous if we could do some type of full board, have access to the full board. But there was, I would say, of what I've attended in my brief stint here, it was probably the best one that I've ever attended and had a tremendous amount of value. So I hope that we will be able to share that and look forward to discussing it further as a group.
Yeah, I would second that. It was a really, it had a lot of information, and there was a panel discussion, which was really interesting. So I did reach out to Gwen to see, I have to get an answer back as to whether that's shareable with the full board, but if not, it is something that we could potentially have Gwen do some training on in the fall, if that would be an area of interest for the board. So, thank you, Sam. Anybody else? No. Okay. Public comments. Public comments are welcome at this time on any topic. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. And thank you for your input.
Good evening. I'm Carolyn Conway-Duff, 51 Preston Drive in Burnersville. I hope you will forgive me. I haven't done public speaking since before the pandemic, so I hope I can get through this. I am a Bedwell mom. My son is in first grade, and my daughter will be entering kindergarten next fall. I'm here tonight to talk about the Latin program. I also wanted to say that I was very honored this year. I was part of the pandemic response team for Bedwell, and I really enjoyed being able to help out in some very small way, but I did enjoy that very much. I'm also an attorney, and I represent school boards in litigation matters. So I'm fighting a good fight. I'm on your side. I know how difficult your job is, and I know how thankless it can be sometimes, that people don't realize how hard you work. So I do want to say I do appreciate that, and thank you. I came here tonight because I wanted to try to help save the Latin program. However, I did learn today, I was informed that as of now it is not being offered next year to 6th graders, and that there is no plans to offer it in the future as well to 6th graders. So I kind of shifted gears, and I think rather than trying to save the program, I guess my only purpose here tonight is to express my very great disappointment that the program is being cut at the middle school. I do understand it is still available at the high school as of now. One of my concerns is that cutting at the middle school, which acts as a feeder program into the high school, did for me in my middle school, will ultimately lead to the end of the Latin program in high school as well. I'm really sad that my kids won't have the same opportunity that I did when I was younger. I understand that apparently this year there was a lack of interest in Latin. I think, or I wish, that instead of viewing that as a reason to get rid of the program, I wish instead people had said, okay, we need to instill in kids how important Latin is. Like, let's get kids excited about Latin rather than no one's interested, so let's cut the program. I just, I'll just say one small closing remark if you'll indulge me. My son is very interested in space exploration. And so he knows about astronauts. And to him, the word astronaut is utilitarian. It's a guy in a white suit up in space. And I explained to him that in Latin, astronaut actually means sailor of the stars. And that hit him. To him, to a six-year-old, that was so magical, right? The concept of an astronaut being sailor of the stars. And I think when we lose Latin, we don't just lose Latin, this dead language. We also lose a really big part of English and what can make English more informative and, to me, more magical is understanding some of those root words. And I wish there was a way to continue the program in middle school. I wish there was a way to get kids interested in the way that I was instead. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your feedback. Okay, sure.
I'm Marissa Osterner, 195 US Highway 202-206 Bedminster. I just wanted to not let the year go by without expressing my gratitude and my thanks and my congratulations for doing this school year. It's I'm a school nurse in the neighboring district, so that was completely full force in, and I don't think that people really realize what this year did and the work it took to actually have a successful school year. So from that perspective, every time I speak to somebody, I try to let them know that you really can't see, unless you are in it, you have no idea what it takes and all of the nuances and all of the logistics and just everything just managing human beings who are afraid and angry and all of that, and angry parents, angry kids, and all of it. So I know it for superintendents especially was just beyond. So to both of you, thank you. To the board, thank you for supporting everyone, the school, the teachers, the nurses in the district. It was really a difficult year, but I so appreciated your letters from both of you that came. Your communication was fabulous. It was lighthearted in such a difficult time. And reading that, I always just felt that my kids were safe here, taken care of. I really didn't have a care or worry about it. And their teachers, the guidance department, I can't say enough about what you have all done to make this year happen. We all know it was just, such a challenging year. I think that's just a major understatement. So I didn't want to not say and publicly acknowledge what you've done. So thank you.
So kind of you
to all of you.
share that publicly. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish more people were here to hear it, because
Thank you for the work that you're doing in your own schools. The school nurse's job is.
We know that.
Yeah, contact tracing.
Contact tracing.
Yeah, so but really thank you to everyone. It was just an amazing job you did. I'm just so pleased and so grateful to be part of the school district. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. We appreciate it. Okay, if there are, oh, did you want to say something, Jimmy?
I do. On that note, I just would like to say publicly, thank you so much to our administration. We talked about it earlier, but we thought we were in good hands with them, and we acknowledge that we're super lucky to have you guys leading us. So thank you so much. Leadership is everything. It really is.
We have great teachers, and we have great families, and we have great kids, and so I'm grateful for the kind words, but we know that we do this with a team of people, and you're all on the team.
I think there are words, certainly, there we go, next year, that I never want to use again, like unprecedented, uncertain, changing guidances, all of those things, but, certainly ones that I anticipate to keep using are thankful to all of our staff, everybody, custodians and bus drivers and maintenance and paras, and of course our wonderful teachers that have been so flexible, our administration that has been amazing through this school year, and all my fellow board members. So, we're almost there.
We earned a summer vacation.
Yeah, you guys certainly have. And our nurses, oh my goodness, our nurses. How could I not mention them? All the work that they've done, and I know I'm leaving someone off, but truly, this secretaries, our board attorney, the entire district is really come together to pull this out and get through this year and do it well. So, okay. Can I get a motion to close public comments?